One of our favorite cold weather treats is a classic loaded potato soup. Some of them are really cheesy, some of them are a little too brothy. This one's right in the middle. Come on into the kitchen, I'll show you how to do it. This potato soup recipe is going to serve about 4 big adults or 1 teenage boy if you're my son. He absolutely loves this. It's his absolute favorite. So let me show you what you're going to need to get started on this one. We've got 3 slices of bacon here. That's maybe half a cup or so, and I sliced it up into little thin strips. And I'm going to bring it up to a heat and let it render out a little bit, and we're going to cook it till it's crispy, and then I'll show you what we do next. So most of that bacon is out of the pan, and you should have about 2 tablespoons of the grease left in there, and that's what you want. Then we're gonna go in with 2 tablespoons of butter, and we're gonna get that melting in there. All of this is layers of flavor. We wanna make sure that we're building this up so that it has a nice depth of flavor without a really long cooking time. So in goes our butter, and while that's melting down, just with the heat, we're gonna go ahead and add 1/2 of a yellow onion. You can use a yellow or a sweet Vidalia. A red is probably not gonna be your best choice here. And then 2 tablespoons or 2 big cloves of garlic, something like that. Just mince it up. Get all that in and let it start softening with all of that butter and the bacon grease. You can never go wrong. Now, I know for those of you who worry about your fat intake, I can tell you personally from experience that good fats are very nourishing to your body. So for bacon, I choose bacons that have no preservatives, no nitrates or nitrites, and no sugar. And then for my butter, we try to go for grass-fed. A brand like Kerrygold is one of our favorites. In our house, my husband has actually lost 25 pounds and lowered his cholesterol 32 points on a diet of red meat and butter and foods like this because we're choosing fats that are healthy and not inflammatory to our bodies. Vegetable oils, Crisco, country crocks, anything that has a vegetable oil, canola oil base is very inflammatory to your system. So when we cut all those things out, it took a little time, but it was really helpful. All right, so we've got that softened down, and now I'm gonna put my potatoes in. I have 5 medium-sized russet potatoes here, and I have these just diced up in about, 1.5 inch cubes. If you want this to cook even faster, just cut your potatoes a little smaller, okay? All right, so potatoes are going in. I try to estimate, you can easily double this recipe, but sometimes I'll just estimate like a potato and a half per person kind of thing. So just use your best guess on what you think everybody will eat. This soup doesn't last very long in our house for sure. All right, so I'm gonna just toss the potatoes around in that butter and everything and just kind of let it sit there a second. And we're gonna throw in a bay leaf. So you can use 1 big bay leaf or a couple of small ones, either way. So the end knows that. And we're gonna put in 2 cups of chicken broth. Choose a good chicken broth. So if you're not making your own, which I typically make my own, but here on the channel, I just use whatever is easiest. And we're gonna do a Pacific Foods makes a great one. So this is their chicken bone broth, but any good quality broth. If you wanna use a bouillon or anything like that, better than bouillon paste is probably my favorite. And then beyond that, the powdered ones are a no-go. They're too much salt. It's too unpredictable how much salt is in those, and you could just easily ruin your dish. So 2 cups of broth in here, and that will almost cover your potatoes. And then we're gonna go in with 1 cup of milk. I have 2 cups total here, but we're gonna use the other part in a little while. So we're just gonna put in about half of our milk, and that will pretty much cover the potatoes. So we'll put a lid on this and we'll bring it to a boil, then reduce it to, a medium simmer or something like that, and cook it until the potatoes are tender, which might be 15 or 20 minutes. And then we're going to switch out because I knew we would need it. Let me show you. Hold on. Is that too hot? Nope. I have one ready for us. So here's one that I cooked a little bit earlier, and the potatoes have already softened up. You can see in here that they are really just nicely soft. I can take my spoon and just mash them into the side of the pot. Now I can see my bay leaf, so while I can see him, I'm going to take him out. And once that has simmered and is all nice and soft, you're going to need to mash up your potatoes. So I'm using a hand masher. If you don't want to use a hand masher, you can use a stand blender. You know, you can just put them in the blender. If it's hot, be very careful doing that. You can use an immersion blender. Oh, look, there's another little bay leaf. Let's take him out. Okay. You can use an immersion blender if you have one of those. You can use a spoon and just smash them until you've got them where you want them. But the thickness of this soup is going to be determined by how much you mash your potatoes. So I like mine with chunks, you know, a few here and there, but not super chunky. So you just make yours the way you like it. I'm going to mash this up and I'll be back in a second to show you what to do next. Okay. So I have this to a texture that suits me. You can just mash yours as finely as you want, but as you can see here, it's very thick. There are chunks of potato in there, but yet, you know, it has some smoothness to it too. So that suits me. Now we're gonna add a little bit more milk. I have another cup here that was left, so we're gonna put that in. And if you want yours thinner, add just a little bit more milk. That'll be perfectly fine. So I'm gonna stir that in. And then we're gonna go in with just a few final things. So I've got some sharp cheddar cheese here. Again, I talk about this all the time, but this is very important that you not buy pre-shredded cheese because it's covered in powdered cellulose. And when we need something to melt and be really smooth, that cellulose can sometimes seize and cause your whole sauce to be gummy and really sticky, so we don't wanna do that. Pre-grate your own. And this is an extra sharp cheddar. So we're gonna put, it might be a cup, it might be a little more than a cup, so we're gonna put that in. And just let the heat of your soup just kind of melt that in. Then we're gonna do just a little bit of parsley, completely optional. It's really just for color. So if you don't wanna do that, you can leave it out. I'm just gonna do a tablespoon or so. And then we're gonna top this, once it's all warmed through, we're gonna top it with some bacon and cheese and some green onions, and it's gonna be absolutely wonderful. So let me just get it all stirred together. I am gonna give it a little taste for seasoning. So let's see how we are in seasoning. Definitely need some salt. So this is gonna depend on how salty your broth is as to how much salt you put in. So just add a little, stir it in, give it time for the salt to dissolve. A lot of times we dump the salt in and then we immediately taste it. And the salt hasn't had time to go anywhere yet. So stir it in, give it a couple of minutes, and then come back and taste it again and see if it suits you. Let's get a bowl out, shall we? If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to everything we do here on Feast and Farm Cooks, and you make sure to ring the bell right next to the subscribe button so that you never miss a video. And you can watch another one right up here. I'll see you next time. Bye.